Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Dead at Midnight. I'm Jason White and I am your host, and this is technically my first video movie review, and I am going to be talking about The Dark and the Wicked. Hello? Good. Now this is a 2020 movie that was directed by Bryan Bertino, and you might recognize him from he wrote The Strangers, I believe. The synopsis is: on a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon a darkness grows, marked by walking nightmares and a growing sense that something evil is taking over. It's directed by Bryan Bertino. He wrote The Strangers. He might have helped with the direction too. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna break my reviews up with story and writing as first category, characters and acting as second category, direction and camera work, and effects. So the story involves Michael and Lois. They're siblings, and they return home because their father is lying in a bed and he's dying. So the father's dying, he's dying in his bed, and the kids, basically, they come home, as you do. They're greeted by their mother, who's obviously not very happy. She's in a state, and you kind of figure that she's just mourning the possible passing of her husband. I guess she's been through a lot. It's never, I think, exactly clear as to what he's dying from, but he's at the end of his life, and she's mourning and grieving already. But the funny thing is, when they return home, the first thing she says to them is, "You shouldn't have come," which is kind of strange, which kind of led into, when she said that, it was meant to mean something else. Obviously, as the story progresses, you see why she said that, but I think maybe they should have put it somewhere else, because you sort of get the idea that there's maybe some bad blood between the parents and the children who've returned home, but that's not necessarily the case. So you do learn pretty soon that something is haunting this house. It's a big old country house, and there's farm animals and in a barn and everything. So you follow the mother around a little bit. I think it goes before the children actually get there, and she hears weird noises in the night, and she goes out to the barn. Creepy things ensue. And then the kids, when they get home, they go through similar experiences. And then, honestly, I think the synopsis should, or the description of the story should stop there, because if you haven't seen this story, there's a lot that happens that will spoil it for you. I went into it completely blind, and I think that's a good way to approach this film. I should put up here that if you suffer from depression at all or suicidal ideation, you might want to skip this movie, because it could trigger you, because I will go into that there is a fair amount of suicide-like behavior in this movie. Basically, this story is about, it's basically a metaphor for the thing that awaits every single one of us, and that's obviously death. The family comes home to mourn a family member who's passing away, and everyone who goes through something like that goes through something different than the person who's beside them, and this movie kind of follows that. But it takes the idea of losing somebody who's close to you and having that completely demolish your life, and so you kind of see where everyone goes and how it affects them, and it goes into some pretty gruesome and pretty grim areas, let me tell you. Playing into this metaphor is religion and belief versus atheism, And what I liked about that was the idea that it doesn't matter if you believe in God or even in death or not. It's coming for you, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in an afterlife or not. You know, something is there because there's something haunting and coming after this family while this man dies. It's never exactly explained how or why it happened, and I don't think it needed to. The only thing I think that kind of was maybe clumsy in the writing was what I said at the very beginning of this description, was that the family, just by the words that the mother says, "You shouldn't have come," it didn't come across as though that they were exactly a happy family. It's never actually expressed if they are a happy family or not, but you sort of get the idea that they did love each other intensely. And like I said, the mother only said that for a very good reason, and you learn why later. The characters and acting. I felt that the actors in this film really did an extraordinary job. Aside from the slight script issues, which, you know, compared to everything else is quite small, because, you know, I really did enjoy this film. It's very dark and it's very grim, and these actors, they really pull together and they do something that you don't see, you know, the big name actors do these days. While I was watching this movie, I was wondering, why aren't Oscars, or at least big awards shows, why don't they ever recognize the acting in these types of films, these smaller films? Because it's when it's a movie like this that's more serious, it's always, the acting is almost, well, maybe not always, obviously, but in movies like this, it's extraordinary. And I think that these actors should probably be, they should be recognized a bit better. Direction and camera work. Now, this movie had a bit of a filter on it, to make it look darker. I don't know what the filter would be called. It was like a noir type filter. It was just a dark filter, and sometimes there was like certain camera angles that I really enjoyed, like when I think it was the mother. It was either the mother or the daughter. She was outside and opening up a gate, and there was just this weird angle where you were looking up at it as it opened or closed or whatever it was. And with that, along with the filter, really gives this movie a bleak feeling without anyone saying anything, and somebody doing something that's very mundane. And I thought that this whole movie represented that because of the camera and the angles. And the effects, there were some effects in this film, and I couldn't honestly tell if they were digital effects or computer effects, or if they were real, because a lot of the effects, when they happened, it was dark, and but I'm pretty sure that they were practical effects. And so overall, I absolutely adored this film. I did think that the concepts were a little over the top, just with the certain things that happen, how certain people die. It just felt a little over the top. But I think it really struck the message home, where it, you know, grief, how grief changes you and your life, and it pretty much kills a certain part of your life, leading you into a new part. I kind of felt that this film was a little bit on the pessimistic side of that idea, but this is horror, so of course it's going to be pessimistic. It's not a comedy by any means. I don't even think there was like a funny break anywhere in, like, you know, there was no comedic relief that I remember in this film. So I definitely recommend it. I'm going to give it, right now I'm just going to give 5-star ratings. I might change that later. I'm going to give this 4 stars out of 5. And yeah, so that's my review of The Wicked and the Dark. Sorry, The Dark and the Wicked. I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. Unless, of course, like I said, you suffer from depression or suicidal ideation of any means, you might want to skip it then. But other than that, you know what, this movie was really intense. It kind of gave me, I remember after watching it, I was like, Jesus Christ. And my wife and so I was watching it on my iPad. My wife and kid were beside me, and they were like, "Oh, this is a scary one." I was like, "Yeah, it was scary." So thank you for watching. Keep being scared, keep being safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next movie video.